To be humble, to be kind, it is a giving of the peace in your mind. To a stranger, to a friend, to give in such a way that has no end. We are love, we are one, we are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace, we are war, we are how we treat each other and nothing more. And to be bold, to be brave, it is the thinking that the heart can still be saved. And the darkness can come quick, the danger's in the anger and in the hanging on to it. We are love, we are one, we are how we treat each other when the day is done. We are peace, we are war, we are how we treat each other
Thank you, choir. Good morning, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Berkeley. I'm Reverend Marcus Leifer, and it is good to be together. However you are, whatever is happening in your heart, in your soul, in your body this week, this morning, this sanctuary has the space to hold it. I'm glad you're here. If you're visiting with us for the first time today, whether you're here in person or joining us online, I want to offer you a particular welcome. We hope that no matter who you are, no matter how you make your living, no matter whom you love, no matter how you experience the sacred, you will feel welcome here among us in the fullness of your being. Everyone's invited to stick around after the service. We offer lunch freely every Sunday in the social hall all the way across the atrium. Stick around for food and conversation if you can. Connection and community, it's what we're about here. We gather every week here at this intersection of arts, justice, and spirituality, knowing that we gather on the unceded territory of the Chochenyo-speaking Ohlone people, Huchiun, and that we have inherited a covenant that has been broken in so many ways. We know that our hearts are breaking with the brokenness of our world this morning. May we have the humility and the courage to live into a new solidarity with one another, with indigenous peoples, with the earth itself, to reweave a covenant that is strong enough to hold us all. We've got a memory book at the back of the sanctuary. If there's something on your heart this morning that you would like read aloud, a grief or gratitude, joy or sorrow, you can write it there and we'll name it aloud during the service. You can also light a candle for a silent memory or prayer. And we've got those tags still out there, this ribbons around the sanctuary that are reminding us of our ancestors, our beloved dead, who we honored the service a couple weeks ago and who we feel gathered around us still. You're always welcome to add another one this month while we have those up. There's super cards in the atrium, cards we send to members of our community to let them know we're thinking of them. I invite you to take a moment to sign those after the service if you can. I invite you to take a deeper breath. In this worship series, we've been thinking about what it means to be woven into the context of all that is, all that's come before, what it means to be bound together in ways that are not always easy. That's what we're going to be talking about today. So before we sing our first hymn, Circle Round for Freedom, I'm going to invite you to rise in body or spirit, and we're just going to wave out to those we're bound together with online. You can just turn to that camera in the back and give them a wave. I heard from some of them how meaningful it was to just know we are really with you, you're really with us. And then I invite you to turn and just greet your neighbor, let them know what's on your heart this morning.
I'd like to invite Tom and Karen Tripp up to light our chalice. We light our chalice this morning with these words from the Reverend Stephen Garnis Holmes. Breathe, brush your teeth, lament. Our sickness is greater than we let ourselves think, our wound more profound. But so is our love. Our grief and even despair are the work of the holy in us. Let your body feel the rage. Let your voice find your sorrow. Let the river flow. We are not called to end the winter, but to bear the light that will become the spring. The mending of the world is threaded with simple kindness and courage. Even as the cold descends, we can love. We can love. I want to tell you a story this morning that is based loosely on a children's book by LeVar Burton. And my story is called Howard the Hippo Swallows a Storm. Yeah, a little laughter, it's a good thing. And my story is set in a time before time when the world is still filled with magic. And Howard the Hippo lives in this time with his friends, and he has a wonderful life. He splashes in the river, he looks for food, he plays games, he dances. Life is good. And then one day, Howard is somehow alone in the river. His friends are off doing other things. Howard is alone, splashing in the river, and a storm comes up. An incredible storm. There is thunder and lightning and wind and rain and tornadoes and hurricanes. It is the biggest megastorm that Howard has ever experienced, and he is terrified. The mountains around him begin to crumble. The river is blown away by the wind. Everything is coming apart, and so Howard does the only thing he can think of. He opens his enormous hippo mouth and swallows the storm. So Howard has swallowed the storm, and he finds himself spinning around and around because it feels like there is a tornado inside him, because there is a tornado inside him. And he is spinning around and around and around, and he is lost and confused. And finally, things begin to die down a bit, and Howard finds himself at the bottom of a big, deep hole. Howard feels terrible. His head hurts, and his stomach hurts, and his whole body is buzzing. It feels like he swallowed a storm because he has swallowed a storm. And he is all alone at the bottom of this hole. He doesn't know what to do. He's a young hippo. And so he simply curls up and is alone. And some time passes. He's all down there all by himself. And then his friend Max the mosquito buzzes down. This is a time before time when mosquitoes were still friends. And Max buzzes down and begins to nudge Howard with his nose. And he flitters around him, buzz, 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 buzz. And he says, Howard, you got to do something. You can't stay down here in this hole. And Howard says, leave me alone. I just want to be alone. Go away. And so Max, because mosquitoes are not known for their persistence. Okay, back in time before time, mosquitoes were not known for their persistence. He flies away. But on his way out, Max tells the birds what has happened to Howard. And so a whole host of birds fly down and keep Howard company. Occasionally they talk to Howard, but mostly they sit on Howard's head. And they just provide some comfort. There's not any words, so we're just going to sit together. And so they do that for a while. And Howard gradually begins to feel a little bit better. And the birds eventually say, Howard, we've got to get you out of this big, deep hole. And Howard says, I am a young hippo, but I am a hippo. I am very big and very heavy, and I'm going to spend the rest of my life at the bottom of this hole. The birds have other ideas. And so they go to Jennifer the giraffe, who is widely seen as the wisest and also has a really long neck, so she can reach down and talk to Howard. And she says, Howard, we're going to get you out of there. If you're ready, we are ready to help. And so Jennifer finds an enormous amount of rope and all of the other animals, and little by little by little, they hoist Howard out of the hole. And Howard is back on land with his friends. But Howard still has a storm inside of him. He still feels really bad. His head still really hurts. His stomach hurts so much, and his body is still buzzing. And Jennifer says, Howard, you're going to have to let the storm out. Howard says, I'm scared. I don't know how. I don't know what to do. Jennifer says, you're going to have to let the storm out. And Howard looks around and he sees that he has friends, and maybe he's safe here, and maybe he can do that. And so Howard begins to cry. First one enormous hippo tear, and then another enormous hippo tear, and then Howard is sobbing. He is crying and crying and crying. He cries for so long that the river reappears, let out by his tears. And finally, he stops crying. He still doesn't feel good. His body's still a little achy, but he realizes he feels better. The river has returned. He looks around and he thinks, it is never going to be the same as it was before. But I am here with friends, and together we can begin to repair the world and make it into something beautiful once again. And that is my story. I'd like to invite all the kids to come with me. We're going to go outside today, and we're going to sow seeds for the future. It's going to be great. Let's go.
I woke up on Wednesday morning and burst into tears. I did some writing and I burst into tears again, and then Henry got up and I swallowed that storm. Because the next right thing was to be a parent. This is a reading about that moment. It's a reading that needed to wait until we'd sung our children out. It's got one of those words you're not supposed to say in church in it. Good Bones by Maggie Smith. Life is short, though I keep this from my children. Life is short, and I've shortened mine in 1,000 delicious, ill-advised ways, 1,000 deliciously ill-advised ways I'll keep from my children. The world is at least 50% terrible. And that's a conservative estimate. Though I keep this from my children. For every bird, there is a stone thrown at a bird. For every loved child, a child broken, bagged, sunk in a lake. Life is short, and the world is at least half terrible. And for every kind stranger, there is one who would break you. Though I keep this from my children. I am trying to sell them the world. Any decent realtor walking you through a real shithole chirps on about good bones. This place could be beautiful, right? You could make this place beautiful.
It's too high. Okay, well, whatever.
invite you to take a deeper breath. Feel your body on this earth, your connection down to the holy planet beneath you, this world that keeps on spinning, on which we go round and round, world without end. Think of Ezekiel when he was brought to the valley of dry bones. How that mysterious love said through him, "I will make breath enter you and you will come to life." If your bones are dry, if your bones feel brittle, if your bones are weary, if you're feeling drenched to the bone, whatever you are feeling deep in your bones today, let breath enter. Remember how bones mend and heal. Remember how bones remain, holding their shape while empires rise and fall. Remember what you know in your bones. Remember, no matter what evil marches through this world, no matter how dry the valley gets, no matter how bleak the horizon looks, no matter how much hate is harnessed to serve the powerful, no matter how much fear is spread across our hearts, remember the good bones. You could make this place beautiful. Oh, great source of love, holy mystery that makes breath enter us, let it move in the lungs and through the blood, move with the grief and anger through our hearts and our guts, bring oxygen into the core of our being. Oh, love, hold us close to the bone. And with tears and shouts, in despair and in rage, again and again, make breath enter us and make us come to life. May this stillness, this quiet we share, hold us in the center of our being. May it hold us bone deep. In this community of care and witness, we hold one another through the seasons of our lives. We lift up those joys and sorrows among us each week. Wynne asks, Spirit, please assist us, guide us to know whether the counts have been accurate, to know our part, to do and coordinate with you in perfect love, in perfect trust. With Lynn Henderson, we're thinking in memory of my dear brother who died today after a long and loving, generous life. With love, Jim McHugh. We're remembering long-time church member, church mother, Grace Ulp. Please join us for a celebration of her life on Saturday, November 23rd at 10:30 a.m. Elaine shares. And Katrin Welch offer prayers to each and all beings, past, present, and future, that we all be held with love, protection, awareness, and sustenance, so that we can collectively keep moving forward on the path of love, justice, and liberation. And prayers from Katrin today for the soul of Nathan, lost last week to despair, and his friend and spiritual sibling, Zach Felty, who have found refuge in this community and in the love that passes understanding. And someone shares these meaningful words from Rabbi Ariel Tulev. The first few lines of a longer poem. The birds don't know what my people just did. Their morning song, not a song of mourning. For all that we have named aloud and for all that yet remains in the silent sanctuaries of our hearts, may we know that whether we are here in this room or joining from afar, whatever is held in our hearts this morning, this room, this community can hold whatever cry, whatever joy, that all is held in a deeper love, a love beyond all knowing, a love that cannot and will not let us go. May it be so, and amen. After I wiped my tears to be a parent, I did the next right thing, which at about 7 a.m. on Wednesday morning is to make breakfast. The standard milk and O's. We call them O's because we buy the elitist, organic, ancient grain brand of O's. And so I'm making the milk and O's, and I notice I'm feeling guilty. I don't know if any of you noticed feelings of guilt this week. I felt guilty to be doing something so mundane, so normal. Making breakfast on a day that was anything but normal. It turned out it was a useful feeling for me because it snapped my attention immediately. I will not go about my life for the foreseeable future feeling guilty for tending to the banal tasks of daily living. When you're living through hard times, the breakfast still needs to be made, the dishes done, the laundry done. It's a good thing. It brings us back into our bodies, into the reality of life in this moment. I keep coming back to that, the wisdom of the body this week. The body knows as it slices the ripe yellow banana to put in the milk and O's, that pours the white whole milk from the heavy jug, that there's nothing to feel guilty about in this daily ritual of sustenance. So if you've noticed any of that guilt this week, just maybe you need that reassurance to not take undue responsibility for the state of this world we share. Or maybe you've been feeling numb. Maybe it feels like maybe this is just business as usual. Maybe you've been feeling grief and anger. Shouldn't have all that work, almost 6,000 postcards this community alone sent off out into the world. Shouldn't it have meant something more? I imagine however you're feeling like me, you are probably wrestling with questions that don't have easy answers. What will happen now? Will the worst of my fears come to pass? Am I safe? Are those I love? What will my conscience require of me? Am I overreacting? Will all the rhetoric remain just that? How could so many of our fellow citizens have chosen this path? How do we relate across such chasms in our understanding of reality? What's my part in this? In my elite, overeducated life, have I lost all ability to communicate with people who don't have a college education? A colleague this week was sharing with me about a member of her congregation coming to her, telling her about her faith being shaken. And I don't know if anybody here felt that sense of your faith being shaken, but I think it's a moment like this that does make you ask, what is it that you put your faith in? What is it that you are held by when the world as you hoped and thought it would be no longer is? The great theologian Paul Tillich talked about how we think that maybe faith is the opposite of doubt. But that's not true. That doubt actually is necessary for faith. It's healthy for a deep and thriving faith to have doubt and question what is real and what is true. Faith, actually, he said, was the opposite of certainty. Because when you're certain about something, you don't need to have any faith. Faith is about what you put your trust in when you cannot be certain. So now may be time to let heartbreak and despair lead you on a journey to a deeper faith, to find that deeper sustenance that cannot be shaken by a political moment like this. If you've put your faith too much in liberal politics or political organizing, if you've put your faith too much in a vague sense of faith in humanity, there might be a deeper call now to ground yourself in something that will sustain you when courageous choices need to be made. Last week we were talking about the history, this context of all it is and has been to paint the stark and grave danger, the authoritarian dimension of the political movement that won this election poses. And since then I've been thinking about this context of all we live and everything that came before, to remember that we are bound together also not only with our fellow citizens alive today, but with all those ancestors who've come before. Because we are bound together with the beloved dead we've gathered around us on the walls of our sanctuary. We're bound together with all those who lived through times as terrifying and full of peril as these. With ancestors who survived and resisted and recreated and reimagined in the face of overwhelming odds and spirit-crushing despair. You know, this chalice that we light each week, you might know this story, but I want to go back to where it first started, before there was a symbol for Unitarianism. Waitstill and Martha Sharp were a couple of Unitarian leaders. Waitstill was a minister and Martha was his wife. They left their 3- and 6-year-old children in the care of beloved members of their congregation in Massachusetts in February 1939 and set sail for Prague, where they had felt called by their faith to help the people who were suffering terrible wars and atrocities in Europe. A month into their mission, they found themselves working through the night, burning all their notes and papers. Just 1 month in, as Nazis claimed Czechoslovakia, they decided to keep no records of the refugees they smuggled out of Nazi-occupied Europe. For their own safety and the safety of those they were assisting, nothing could be written down. What had begun as a simple church mission quickly required a stunning level of courage. There's a movie, The Sharps War, about them if you want to hear the whole cloak and dagger story. But the moment I want to lift up is as they worked with more and more Unitarians to provide the aid they could, to help smuggle refugees out and humanitarian supplies in, they eventually were the founding staff of the Unitarian Service Committee. And as they formed this organization to do what they could, individual by individual, getting people out, helping those in need, to save lives and protect human dignity in the face of a political movement fueled by hate and grievance, at one point they turned to an artist. Hans Deutsch was the artist, an Austrian Jewish refugee. We don't know anything about what he was thinking as he created our now iconic flaming chalice as a logo to stamp on documents and packages so that the Unitarian Service Committee could help people get past customs officers and border guards. But I imagine him looking at that chalice full of wine and deciding to pour it all out, to turn the cup full of the fruit of the vine over in that ancient ritual of libation, spilling the blood-red wine of the chalice in grief and outrage, and instead setting the cup on fire. The world is burning. He emblazoned with his vision of the flaming chalice, and there are those among us who have decided to place that fire at the center of our faith, to let it burn away fear, to shine as a light in the darkness. The Sharps, Hans Deutsch, all of these ancestors, they led the way to ground our people in a deeper faith, a faith prepared to meet the fiery needs of the moment. Faith that is fierce enough to waken the flesh, to keep us awake and alive in a political order that would prefer us numb and disoriented, overwhelmed. It has to be rooted in a belonging that runs deeper than any election, deeper than any political organizing, deeper than even that vague faith in humanity, deep enough that it can hold us no matter what. Must be a faith in the fallow, like our children are practicing right now, preparing the soil, planting seeds that will allow the soil to rest in that Three Sisters garden. Faith in belonging to the sea and the sky, to knowing that we are bound together with the source of all life and a love that will not let us go, and that never in the history of the world has even the most horrific tyrant found a way to sever that belonging. And with this faith, what shall we do? What is the next right thing? I turn to Walt Whitman, a poem he wrote, "This is what you shall do," in 1868. Just as the country was beginning to recover or attempt to recover from the Civil War. This is what you shall do. Love the earth and the sun and the animals. Despise riches, gives alms to everyone that asks. Stand up for the stupid and the crazy. Devote your income and labor to others. Hate tyrants. Argue not concerning God. Have patience and indulgence toward the people. Take off your hat to nothing known or unknown, or to any man or number of men. Go freely with powerful, uneducated persons, and with the young, and with the mothers of families. Read these leaves in the open air, in every season of your life. Re-examine all you've been told at school or church or in any book. Dismiss whatever insults your own soul. And your very flesh shall be a great poem, and have the richest fluency, not only in its words, but in the silent lines of its lips and face, and between the lashes of your eyes, and in every motion and joint in your body. This deeper faith begins in the body, begins by trusting the body and creating intimacy between bodies. This is what an authoritarian state cannot abide: trust and intimacy, especially across difference. So this is what we'll practice: trust and intimacy, starting with the body, body to body, connecting and knowing that we are in this all bound together. It's time to rest and to breathe. to take stock, to lay fallow and discover what unfolds, to build trust and intimacy through moving at the speed of the body, to do the next right thing, which is probably a small thing, something that reminds you who you are and your relationship to the wider web of existence. Maybe once you've made breakfast, introduce yourself to a neighbor you've never talked to. Give a call to an old friend you haven't heard from in a while. Bake cookies for your mail carrier. Learn the names of the birds who call in the morning on your block. Dance, sing, paint, write, make things with your hands. Reveal a deeper truth to someone you love. Notice those who are feeling more vulnerable than you. Tend this tapestry of love we call community with care for the fraying edges. Care for all the places most threatened by this rising tide of hate. Remember what you know in your bones and make this place beautiful. One last poem to close. By the Muslim American poet Naomi Shihab Nye, Shoulders. A man crosses the street in rain, stepping gently, looking 2 times north and south because his son is asleep on his shoulder. No car must splash him. No car drive too near his shadow. This man carries the world's most sensitive cargo, but he's not marked. Nowhere does his jacket say, fragile, handle with care. His ear fills up with breathing. He hears the hum of a boy's dream deep inside of him. We're not going to be able to live in this world if we're not willing to do what he's doing with one another. The road will only be wide. The rain will never stop falling. May we walk each other home, whatever comes. May it be so, and amen. Choir is going to sing a piece. This is by Melanie DeMore. She wrote it in 2016, just after the November election that year. Feel what your body needs. You can just sit and listen. You can rise and join in singing. Lead with love.
You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Don't give up hope. Don't give up hope. You're not alone. You're not alone. Don't you give up. Don't give up. Keep moving moving on. Keep moving on. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Lift up your eyes. Lift up your eyes. Don't you despair. Don't you despair. Look up ahead. Look up ahead. The path is there. The path is there. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. One foot in front of the other. One foot and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other. One foot and front of the other. One foot, one foot, and lead with love. You got scared. And I'm scared too. But here I am. Right next to you. Right next to you. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. One foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. One foot in front of the other and lead with love. And lead with love. And lead with love. And lead with love.
Good morning. I'm Celine Fabiano, and I'm the Secretary of your Board of Trustees. In our covenantal community, we share the responsibility for pursuing our mission by giving generously of our time, talent, and treasure. I invite you to support the work of our church by giving, and there's several ways to do this. You can give electronically by scanning the QR code on the back of your badge, or by putting cash or check donation into the donation envelope that you'll find in back of the pew in front of you, and then put the envelope into the donation box beside the fountain in the atrium as you leave the service. Each week, half of our offering is shared with a nonprofit Good Neighbor organization. The Good Neighbor for this month is No More Tears. No More Tears is a crime and violence prevention program seeking to support the reentry of formerly incarcerated individuals. Will you join me in rededicating ourselves to our mission? Dedicate our offering and ourselves to the mission of this congregation, to improve loving community, inspire spiritual growth, and encourage lives of integrity, joy, and service.
Buenos días. My name is Chalice Lighting, and I am your Connections Coordinator. If you're new to our church and you'd like to learn more about how to get connected, I welcome you to find me or any of the greeters at the welcome table in the atrium after the service. To find out what's happening in the life of our community, you can always check the news link on the homepage of our website, where you'll find our weekly email newsletter, The Week Ahead, which includes a list of activities, announcements, and contact information. This week, I'd like to especially lift up the following. While it's not up there, next Sunday at 9:30 a.m., our personal theology seminar will be led by Reverend J. Atkinson, the title of which is What is Enduring in Our Unitarian Universalist Identity? With the results of the election now known, there will be much discussion with Reverend J about our UU identity and values. Today is the last day to donate to the Disaster Relief Fund from the UUA for Congressional Hurricane Relief. We can help UU congregations recently affected by the hurricanes in the southeast of the United States. If you'd like to gather on Thanksgiving for worship and a meal, please see the sign-up sheet in the atrium after the service. And the holiday season is almost in full gear. We have many opportunities to come together in community, starting off with a holiday fair, our Messiah sing-along, holiday decorating, and much more. Please keep an eye out for our emails and announcements. Thank you. Muchas gracias.
This is the chalice that I light at home for meetings sometimes, and I know some of you might have brought a chalice from home today as well. If you didn't, you'll find there's some little mini chalices along the pews. I asked a few folks this morning if they'd come help with a little ritual of lighting these chalices. So if you are up for bringing flame out to the congregation, would you come on forward now? What we're going to do, and there might not be enough of those chalices. We've got a lot of us here this morning, so you might need to share one. You could hold one together with a neighbor, or hold one firm in your imagination. These folks are going to come bring flame from our chalice here along the aisles. We can pass them down the pews and light these chalices. So I'll invite you, if you are so willing, to rise in body or spirit and to hold these little mini chalices or your chalice from home as we pass this flame among us. Every one of us, can hold these flames together. While we pass, let's hum Spirit of Life. When we end our service today, we will extinguish this flame. And at some point later on, whenever you like, you'll extinguish this flame you hold as well. And we know that the light of truth and the warmth of community and the energy of action will stay within us. And we will be left holding an empty chalice. An empty chalice ready to hold you and whatever you need to place your faith in. To be held in this moment in a legacy of those who have devoted themselves to truth, to freedom, and to a love that knows no bounds. Let's sing together. Love will guide us. Reach out with that spare hand, touch a shoulder, or hold an elbow. However you do it, let us be connected. Reach out to the great beyond. Know that you are not alone. Remember the truth that we are one body, that we depend on each other more than we know. May the flames that we have kindled burn bright and long, and when they go out, may we trust our deeper faith to bring about whatever is the next right step. Amen. May it be so, and amen.